Hey guys, this is Sean Ray with Sean Ray Realty, and today we're going to be sitting with Mrs. Holly Glover, and she is going to be going over all the details and answering all your questions on what it's like to be a first-time Airbnb home buyer, and also all the details about her current Airbnb that we're sitting in that she's going to be selling at the end of this month. So, Ms. Holly, thank you so much for meeting with us.
You're very welcome.
I have a couple questions, but the main one that I'm really curious about, and I'm sure everyone else is curious about, is if you have such a successful Airbnb, then why in the world are you selling it?
Yes. So, as life goes, kind of unscheduled, my clinic got moved to a different part in like lower south Dallas to Waxahachie, Texas. So, in order for me to buy a home there and to kind of establish myself in the community, which is really important when you're in medicine, I needed to be able to, have the cash to be able to do that. So that's why I'm having to put it up. It pains me, but it's the way life goes.
It pains me too. Like whenever we sold this house to her, we were looking for a while. We found this house. It was a beautiful house. And every time I sell a home that's an Airbnb investment, I still always do this, even though it makes sense that it would make sense, but still you're crossing your fingers, you're hoping it works. And when she got in here, she's sending me text messages. There's like zero vacancy, and she's just killing it, making money her first month, and just which I want to talk about that for a second. So when you got here, what was the thing that separated you from other Airbnb investors that made it to where right out of the gate you started having zero vacancy? You just had killer occupancy right out of the bat.
Sure.
Right out of the gate.
So a little personal. I had a friend who ended up needing significant long-term care in a hospital. And whenever she was going through the process and her family was having to come up and help her, there was zero places to stay for the family. So because she was my roommate, her mom would have to sleep on our couch. There wasn't great options. So the reason why I was interested in this property is because it's literally right down the street from UT Southwestern Medical Center. So I kind of figured this would be an opportunity to not only start a business, kind of get into the Airbnb game, but then also provide a really good service for my potential clients who are your long-term care folks. And that is exactly who my first Airbnb was in this property. It was somebody that needed long-term care. They had to go for daily chemo, and they needed something that was close. They needed something that was accessible to the medical center, so if they needed to get there immediately, proximity absolutely mattered. So I kind of had an inside view from the medicine side of how the extras when it comes into getting care like a home absolutely matters.
So you say that the proximity was really a big factor for why you saw some success right out of the gate. So does that mean that you think that everyone in Dallas should buy next to a medical center, or do you think there's other options and opportunities in different parts of Dallas?
Oh, no, I definitely think there's great opportunities all over Dallas. That was just a specific niche that I knew needed. There was a need there, and I could fulfill that with this property. But I'm so close to the airport, it fulfills that niche. You have traveling nurses, which goes back to the medical center aspect, but traveling nurses, resident docs that are coming in for like a rotation or whatever, who would need a little bit more long-term stay. But then also, I've had several people book the property that have also been in town for Texas OU weekend last weekend, and people that are coming in over the Thanksgiving holiday because their kids live close to here. So they rent it out for a week because they want to provide Thanksgiving dinner for their kids. So no, there's absolutely more aspects to this specific property that are not just medical center related, and I absolutely know that there is need all over the city.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go back, let's reverse time a little bit. Mm-hmm. And when you started looking, which she was one of my favorite clients because she just said, whatever works, just let's do it. And let's talk about that too. Yeah. She never actually saw this house before she bought it. Like she did a final walkthrough, right? Was that the first time you saw it?
No, it was after closing.
After closing. So she just said, hey, find me a spot. This is her first ever home that she bought for Airbnb investing. And I was like, this one seems that it will be work. It just trust me. And she's like, all right, I trust you. And then she only saw it after she actually bought the house. And so what was that experience like for you?
A little surreal, but if you trust who you're working with, then it's fine. And I trusted you. You've had successful Airbnbs. You know the game. In fact, your first property, I remember you telling me, probably wasn't in, it wouldn't have been an ideal property, but you turned it into something that has done extremely well. And then after your success, you went after another property. So it was something that I knew you had experience in. Your friends have had experience in. So you came into it with the experience that I needed because I had zero. If I don't know anything about the game and I'm trying to get involved, then I want somebody who is in the game and is doing it well. So, I trusted your opinion. You came and did a little video for me. It was a good setup for us.
Mm-hmm. So if you were to go back in time before you put an offer in this house, before you bought it, what would you have done differently? Like, now that you know what you know, and then what did you do that you didn't know was great? Like, say for instance, like, ooh, I'm so glad I did that. I didn't even know how great that was, or whatever it happened to be.
So, the whole reason why I'm having to sell the property is exactly what I would have done different. So I had to put in a large amount of money because this was an investment property. So the amount that you have to put down is much different than if you're like a first-time homeowner or if you don't own any other properties. And so that is something you really have to consider, but it's why I'm in the situation I'm in. So knowing that, I might have structured it a little bit differently to where maybe I unloaded the other property first and then bought this, so I had to put a lower down payment so I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in.
Gotcha.
Fair.
And then what are some hidden, like I didn't even know how genius I was, or something like that? Like
I didn't.
Maybe something like the fact that you didn't have to deal with construction or anything like that.
Yeah. So when I moved into this house, they had just remodeled a lot, so there wasn't a big project that I had to be involved with. So one of the hidden things about, just owning a home in general, if you don't own one, whatever amount of money you think it requires to kind of get a property up and going, double it. Just because you don't know. I had to get the plumbing up to code. I had to make some electric changes up to code. I had to do some things that were not done, even though the house looks amazing on the inside. There are some of the bone structures that you needed. Those are considerations that you don't really anticipate. Now, granted, thankfully my input for the investment stake was not very much, but I could see how if you didn't really comb through that and get costs up front before you kind of go through your option period, then it could get you in a bind.
Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people reach out to me and they're like, okay, well, what's the ideal house? Should I get a duplex and then live on one side and then rent out the other? Or should I just get a really cheap one? There's like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a 4-bedroom, 2, 3, 4-bath. Or should I get a big old fourplex? Like what do I do and how do I get started? Would you say that this and what you got yourself into with a 4-bedroom, 2-bath was ideal? Would you have done 3? Would you have done more? Like how do you feel about this house in particular?
No, it all depends on who you're trying to appeal to, okay? So me being in the medical center, for who I knew my primary customer was probably going to be a family or somebody that needed room, could have guests come into town while they were going through their medical care. So this is the ideal size of a home with the amenities that it has. This is ideal for the type of client that I'm appealing to. All those other properties have ideal customers that they're appealing to. So if you're wanting to be, more of a short-term in and out stay, you have a lot of variability. Those clients have very low needs and they just want a place to stay that's kind of affordable, but offers the comfort of a home as opposed to going to the hotel. So it all depends on kind of where you're buying, who you think your primary customer is going to be, and then does the house match that? If the house matches that, like you said, I had no idea how successful this was going to be. It worked out better than I even expected.
So let's talk about that really quick. So you bought the house, and then how much did you buy the house for?
So I believe we bought it for $229. Yeah, $229.
$229. And then how much did you have to put down?
I had to put down $48,000.
$48,000.
Yeah.
Wow. And then why did you decide to do that versus putting down the 3 to 5% for original home?
I was not eligible, and that's why. Because I already have another home, or I have another property, and that ended up being my primary residence, even though it's not well, I don't know if I can say that, but
It is.
it ended up being my primary residence. And so for that one, I could put the 5% down because that wasn't even my first time. I'm not a first time homeowner, so that I didn't qualify for 3%. But I did qualify for 5%. And so it went toward that home. So because that home and this one is in the same city, you can't, the rules with lending, I had to put 20% down. That's fine.
Cool. And so you're $48,000 in.
Correct.
And then when you got in here, everything was perfect, smooth. You put the furniture in, and not a single cost after that, right?
No.
Okay.
No. Because like I said, you had to put some money into bringing things up to code. So I had, and I had to put blinds in. Like you have to make little small improvements. Because when somebody comes in and they do all the renovations, they're not going to do those little fine tuning things because it doesn't increase the value of the home. And they're just wanting to sell the home. And that's kind of how it was in this situation. So I had to come in, I had to put blinds all throughout the house. I had to get the plumbing up to date. I had to get the electric up to date. But that cost, like I said, very minimal, $4,000. And I was able to have people in the house.
And then where did you find your furniture? It seems like you've got this recycled. Some of the stuff seems like it's been used before. Combination.
Some was new stuff, some was recycled. Facebook Marketplace. Friends that wanted to unload some furniture for a small fee. Some of my own personal furniture is just a combination, and some of it's all brand new. Like all the kitchen stuff is completely brand new, which I think is important.
Kitchen stuff looks good.
Yeah, so all of that was brand new. So a combination.
How much was all the furniture just to furnish this entire house?
$8,000.
$8,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And so I like to say it's on average about $4,000 to $5,000 per bedroom. And so in this case, it would have been for 4 of them. Then you're looking like $20,000 to furnish this entire place.
No,
But you got it way less.
And I did it. Yeah, I did it as cost judiciously as I could.
But I can also tell it's missing a couple things, like maybe like a painting or
correct. And that's okay. So that's interesting you brought up. I thought about putting my art in here. I did, but then you're like, well, what if your customer doesn't like it? What if they want to put their own stuff up?
Well, if it's your art, then they just have bad taste. Right?
I agree.
They should all like it.
I agree. I like my art. So then I was like, is that a real necessary thing when I'm going after the client that I'm going after? And it turned out it wasn't. And so there might be other Airbnbs that do require art and do require that kind of, because Airbnb, they're known for uniqueness. That's a big turn on for people when they're trying to rent a space. But that wasn't my ideal client. They're going for functional. Does it feel like home? Does it feel comfortable? And they didn't need the art to make it feel that way.
Yeah, cool.
But yes, you're right.
So you are $7,000 in for furniture. Is that correct? $8,000, and then you spent $4,000 for
upgrades.
And then any other kind of hidden fees?
Oh yeah, I did hidden fees.
Or just fees like what? How much did it cost other than your down payment?
That's about right. 12 to 15 to be fair, because I did add some insulation in the attic just to make the air conditioning more efficient, to try to make the AC bill. Ooh, that sounded real West Texas.
AC bill.
The AC bill more, affordable in my favor. And I think we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Some of the things that when you're getting the Airbnb game, you don't expect. That would be one of them.
Yeah.
But so just to make that a little bit more efficient, I did, spend some money on that, and that's not cheap.
Cool. All right. So now you're all in, and so you are now willing to sell this for how much?
So we got it appraised. Obviously, we went through the buying process, and it actually appraises for quite a bit, substantially more than what I ended up buying it for.
I remember that day. That was a good day.
That was a very good day.
Whenever Derek the lender called me, he's like, "Hey man, by the way, that house is worth way more than what you guys bought it for," and I was like, "Yeah,
it's a win." And that's another thing. If you're going into the Airbnb game, be thinking of that, because that is like built-in equity for you. That is a big deal. So this thing is appraising for roughly about $260, and that's substantial.
So if someone's watching this right now and they want to buy this house, I haven't listed it yet, but they obviously are going to be coming this Saturday. Yeah. If you guys don't know, this Saturday in October, is that October 19th? What day is this Saturday?
Something
think it
like
might
that.
be
It
October
is
19th.
October, okay.
Yeah, I need to put more promotions out yet. But yeah, if you guys come in this Saturday, you get first dibs at this. You get to see it. You get to ask her questions. And then the next week, I think we're planning on listing it. And so how much did you want to list this for without the furniture?
Without the furniture, I'm not going to pull strings. Appraisal rate, $260.
$260. And then if they just want to buy it as is, they don't even want to mess with it, they just transfer the Airbnb over into, from your name to their name, and they just want to keep it riding and keep all the success you're having with the furniture and everything as it is, how much would that be?
So ideally, since I've put a good $8,000 in it, ideally I would get that back. But, you know, if you have the right person that's willing to just come in and do it, I might cut them a deal.
Cool. And so ultimately that person can come in here and get a property for under $270 that is bringing in how much per month? Are you seeing average that you're bringing in?
$3,500.
$3,500. And then how much does it cost your mortgage? Your mortgage right now, it's not going to be their mortgage because it's going to be different because you have the 20% down. They're going to have higher. But if you do 20% down, you could be potentially around the same thing that she's paying right now, which is
$1,400.
$1,400. And if you do a 3% down, if you're doing 260 or 270 or something like that, you're going to be a couple $100 more than that. And so, say for instance they get in here for $1,700 a month, then how much is your bill? Say for instance your water bill per month.
Water is not substantial at all. I mean, it's minimal. I mean, $60 if that.
$60, and then trash, and then electricity and stuff.
So
like that.
Electricity is probably going to be the highest bill that you have. And the reason for that is that if it's an Airbnb, they don't treat the AC like you do in your own home, where you're very conscious of that. So the AC bill is by far the highest. During the heat of the summer, it was expensive. The first couple of months that we were in here when it wasn't hot, I mean, it was $180. You know, when you get in the summer, it's closer to $300. So
$300, wow.
Yeah. So, but that, I mean, honestly, if you own a home, you already know that. You expect that.
So if they buy this with 3 to 5% down, then it's looking as if they're going to be. It'd be safe for them to pretty much project this to be around $2,000 to $2,100 a month is what they probably would be paying.
Not even. Oh, if you're at $1,700, that's about right.
So $2,000 something a month, and they'll be making around $1,000 to $1,500 profit. And if they decide to change it up a little bit, which I want to ask you that, if they put more beds in each individual room, they might attract a larger party. So anyone watching this, you could be with 3%, 5% down, you could be making $1,000 to $1,500 profit per month. Potentially more if you do what we're about to talk about. So why is it that you decided to do one bed per room versus having 2 beds in 3 rooms and 1 big bed in 1 room?
Yeah, so honestly, that's just, I listed it literally at the beginning of July, and 2 days later, I had somebody that says I want it for 90 days. So I met them in person because I'm kind of like you. Like I do my Airbnb maybe a little bit different. I want it to feel more personal. I want them to know who I am. I want to meet them. They asked to view the property before they even committed to doing it, which I was completely willing to do. And based upon their need, and they're saying, hey, I want it for 90 days, there was no reason for me to put more beds in here. Now, if they were going to be more of a short-term stay, I probably would. I mean, it makes more sense. And you can hold larger parties, and people are looking for that. And this house can actually accommodate larger parties because of its proximity to American Airlines, design, the fair. The fairgrounds was another, reason why I had some people in here. So, then it makes a lot of sense because the rest of the people that have rented out the house have been parties of 9 and 10.
That's cool. So how did you get that first 90 day? Do you was that your friend, or did that just randomly came upon you?
No, it was random.
So you just listed it.
2 days later.
In 2 days, you got a 90-day listing.
Correct.
So it was just pure luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for that.
And then, so you had all the pictures up, you had all the furniture in the pictures and everything. Professional pictures or just phone pictures?
From my iPhone.
From your iPhone. Man, what a deal. Like that's a heck of a deal.
I know.
Like
it's pretty
anybody would love for that to happen to them.
Yeah, I know.
And what an awesome thing. Yeah. Okay, so to wrap it up, with this going forward, what do you want to do in the future? So with this knowledge, so say for instance, we have this thing on Saturday, we get this in, we have some badass investors. You can even life coach them a little bit on like what to do, what not to do, and how to get it as successful as yours. You do have another house. I want to talk about that real quick.
Cool.
That you're burring, well, you might not, I don't know. We'll talk about that.
Sure.
And then also, what's the future plans for if you're going to continue on in this adventure, or if this is a one-time thing?
I'll be very honest. Airbnb is only getting more and more popular. I mean, you're starting to see direct-to-consumer advertisement for it. So literally, people are doing free advertising for you. So as long as you do a really good job of being accommodating to your guests and can reach that super host status and can kind of get your property at the high end of listing whenever they're searching for, their needs, there is no reason not to be in this game. The cash on cash return is so much greater than if you went into traditional long-term renting. This is a great way to put equity into something without having a single cost. There aren't very many opportunities for that. So yeah, I plan on continuing to do that.
Badass. And then what's the other home that you got? What's some other projects you're working on?
So that other one, the one that I put 5% down on when we were doing our deals, it has been under construction, renovation, for about 5 months now. We're almost done. And then that one will go up as well.
So I want to bring this up. This is not anything to do with this property, but I just want to bring it up for you that are trying to get into Airbnb investing. This is such an important lesson for you to learn. This deal right here, if you guys are trying to buy this deal, it's no stress, no headache. You walk in, you make money, done. This is called turnkey investing. It'd just be super easy for you. Like, I would really like to do this, but I'm about to go traveling for like 3 months, so it's going to be difficult to start at Airbnb and then just leave right after. But for anybody else trying to do this, it is a solid investment. But this is this property. If you're trying to do what's called like forced appreciation into a house, forced equity into a house, then you're gonna have to find a house that needs a lot of help, and then you're gonna have to make it look really nice with a large construction crew, and then from there you can reappraise it and then pull out a lot of money, do whatever you want with it. But when you do that, there are some risks. And so I want you to hear firsthand experience from, this is something that happened to her. She had both. She had a turnkey one like this that had very little effort, that needed to get it rocking and rolling for money. And she had another one that's now taking 5 months to get on the market, which is way longer than we had expected. So what's the story behind that one? Take a deep breath.
I know, labor of love, right? I really liked their home. The bones of it were good. I saw a lot of potential from an Airbnb perspective, not only from location, layout of the house, number of rooms or people that it could accommodate. So, but it needed love.
I want to cut you off. She also wanted to do what's called BRRRR. And so basically what that means is that she found a house. We randomly found this house, lucky because of another client. We were all looking at the same price point, same area. But this was a great option for her to separate herself from her guests. And so she can live upstairs because of the way that it was laid out, and then have like all the downstairs for her guests. That way the guests are staying in each room downstairs that she's making profit on, while she's upstairs and never has to see them. They might have to bump into each other for like the kitchen, but that's about it.
Yeah, so the layout on the upstairs floor was very strange, and so I literally totally reformatted the upstairs to where I could live there and then Airbnb out the bottom, because there's actually a lot of people that do that, and they're looking for those one-room rentals. So that was the original plan. So everything that I did from a renovation standpoint was with that in mind. So I turned the upstairs into this really awesome like master ensuite kind of area that I would live in. But then I gutted the kitchen. I redid the floors. I painted all the inside, redid crown molding, put up a crazy carport with this bad A gate, motorized gate, repainted the outside, redid windows. Like, it was a huge project. And had a contractor that said, okay, we can do all this work in 8 weeks. And I'm like, listen, I'm gonna let you know right now that this is a business for me. So, the 8-week timeline, that's good to know, because then I'm thinking, all right, we bought it in very beginning of May. We're gonna list it in July, going in right into great Airbnb time. This is gonna be good. It'll be really good.
And also keep in mind, 8 weeks is a very ideal number for anyone that's trying to get into this kind of investing, because we specifically structured it to where she closed on like the first day of the month, or the last day of the previous month, or very close to it. That way she has 2 months without having to pay mortgage. And so that 8 weeks time frame would have not, she wouldn't have had to do double payments on where she currently was living in this property. It would have been great. But continue.
So, and if you've spoken to enough people that have dealt with contractors and have done renovations, they're like, it's never what they say it's going to be. So I really didn't expect 8 weeks, but I really was thinking 12. Yeah, I'll just give them, time and a half extra, essentially, to get it all done. But I'm here to tell you that it is closer to 5.5 months of being done. And so that has been a huge headache. You feel like you operate on a specific standard when it comes to doing business, right? So when people call you, you call them back. When you reach out and you do things, that's going to be reciprocated, but it just doesn't work that way. Not all people operate the same way you do. And you can't expect that they're going to do that, or you will be very, very disappointed. So if you're going to deal with any kind of construction or renovation, please know that there is going to be a headache involved, even if your project is on time. Even if your project is, there's no hidden little gems when things start being done. Because I'll tell you, on that property, when they started taking down some walls, guess what? Ton of mold. Was that on the inspection? Nope.
One guy had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weenie, though.
Hey, he had an anaphylactic reaction to the mold. He has an allergy to it. I mean, could you have predicted that? No. Could you have predicted that there was so much mold in the house? No. It's not cheap to treat that, because if you think about it, if you're going to have people in your home, it's got to be safe. If you're going to live in the home, it's got to be safe. So, you're going to have hidden things within that bid and time frame that you just cannot anticipate. So, I'm telling you, turnkey is way easy. The stress of this house has been exponentially lower than what I have on the other one.
Yeah, so that's really like the benefit of the turnkey versus the renovation, because a lot of times people are like, man, if I can just put that forced appreciation in there, I can really use this to do some cash out refinances, then use that to reinvest in the future. And then if you're buying a property that's already renovated as is, like this one was, then you're not making as good of a deal. You're probably paying an extra $10,000, $20,000 over, sometimes a little more. But is that $10,000 to $20,000 that you saved worth the potentially 5 months of headaches and dealing with contractors, and then maybe the contractor just ghosts you and you have to find another contractor, you just have to deal with all this stuff. And think about the time, those 5 months, if she just would have got a turnkey property, sorry, by the way, I should have told you this, but if she would have got a turnkey property, that's 5 months of revenue that she would have made that would have just probably pushed her past the point in which the renovations would have got her. So anyways, keep that in mind whenever you guys are looking at it. This is not traditional real estate. It's Airbnb investing, so the rules aren't always the same. But thank you again so much, Miss Holly, for taking your time out of your day to talk to us today. And I also want to say thank you so much for letting us come into your house this Saturday. Again, this Saturday is going to be October 19th from 1 to 3. And then if you guys want to know the address, it's going to be in the description below. Or we can send you even more details if you message me and then send me your email. And then I can send out all the newsletters and flyers and all the Airbnb investing info that you're going to need, including this event on Saturday. So if you guys like this kind of content, you know what to do.
Like and subscribe.
And make sure to leave a comment. All right, see you guys this Saturday.